Hey kids, me again. Look, I already know that I've made a video about lust, but this time it's going to be a bit different. If you haven't seen that video already, go watch it after this video, or pause this video and then go watch that one and come back. I'm not your mom, do whatever you want. Today, I'm coming to you as a brother by telling you my own personal experiences with lust and why you should avoid it by removing yourself from it entirely, or as in 1 Corinthians 6:18 blatantly states in layman's terms, flee from it. So heed my warning, because when God said the spirit is willing and the flesh is weak, he wasn't lying. You see, back in my old life when I was a lukewarm Christian, doing whatever I deemed as pleasing for myself, never having a want or never having a need, I fell deep in the lust. 2020's pandemic gave the world a punch in the gut it'll never forget, leaving people stuck inside, almost as if God put a pause in the world for a reason. Credit goes to Raven Knight for that quote, but during lockdown, a lot of people had to find something to do to entertain themselves, whether it was to become an influencer, to do calisthenics, or in my case, it was gunning. And therefore, the repercussions of my experiences led me to watching porn, falling into masturbation, or having sex outside of marriage. I'm sorry if that was a little too much information, but you need to understand how detrimental the aspects of it is. Such as, I wasn't really viewing women as people, more like objects that I could use to scratch that itch, you know what I mean? Couple that with, I would find myself in these toxic relationships with said women who'd encourage this behavior I was committing. And for a while, I was making soul ties with them until God delivered me from those instances and saved me from myself. For a moment, I would like to talk about the issue with hookup culture. Society now is way freakier than any previous generations in history due to the quote-unquote sexual revolution from the 60s and 70s, inspiring women to be just as promiscuous as men are. Which I'll personally say is that us men in modern society need to do better and be an example for younger generations, myself included, because if you're just racking up bodies, you're a hoe, an adulterous whore, plain and simple, and you're the embodiment of a male prostitute due to these actions. If you're smashing a female so you can have somewhere to live and stay, but not really having feelings for her, what difference is it from a woman getting piped down so she can get her rent money? At the end of the day, we can't be lying on our backs just to get up on our feet, squad. Plus, it leaves both parties empty in the end with shattered hearts and perspectives about the opposite sex that are just completely negative. I still lie awake at night, sometimes just tossing and turning, fighting these painful memories that once made me smile. So, why do we still practice it? We are all aware that we live in a fallen world with fallen bodies waiting to be redefined by Christ on the day of judgment, right? And we all know that the enemy is smart and conniving, real sneaky style. He likes to prowl like a roaring lion. He likes to lie in wait while just stalking and collecting information. He knows when you're lonely. You could be admiring someone's attractiveness and he'll just slip in the thought of you undressing them. One thing leads to another, then boom. You're doing the devil's tango instead of a crip walking covenant approved by God. God designed us wanting to be connected, being intimate with a partner, and just being completely compatible with somebody else. Yes, he did. But underneath a designated covenant between a husband and wife, mirroring his covenant with us humans. Just look at Hosea and Gomer for an example. That speaks volumes of what's happening today. Us people, God's creation, are behaving like Gomer, running around this world with our zippers down and our legs open without any sense. But God, being the ever faithful, loving Hosea, still loves us enough to stick by our side regardless of us running off and being a slut. I myself, being a 21-year-old adult, have at least 8 bodies. Some of them were girlfriends and some of them were one-night stands. Regardless, it didn't make me any more of a man than what God already says that I am. In reality, I was dealing with hurt, pain, and disappointment, resulting in me using another person to forget about the last person I was with. In truth, it doesn't work. And I can already smell the incel soy boy haters in the comments talking about some having sex make you a man. You gotta bust a nut. It helps you with your immune system. Sir, as far as that goes, buddy, I'd like to rebuke you and your lies. Anyway, back to the main topic. My original emotional trigger response when I was frustrated was just to go out and get some cheeks. Or if I was beefing with my girlfriend at the time, I'd just hop on the hub and just get a quick beat in. But over time, I'd go to the Orange and Black site or just send a dirty text trying to get some nudes. Or the time an older woman who I was entertaining got us a hotel room for my birthday. I was sitting there in the dark, curled up to someone who 2 hours ago accepted my seat and made me feel wanted and desired. That exact same person ended up feeling like a stranger within that moment. Now, out of all of the 40 women that I dealt with over the years, none of them, not a single one, made me feel as loved, as desired as Jesus Christ makes me feel. Because without Jesus, I'd still be out here in these streets breaking hearts and getting mine broken. And I know what it's like to have a heartache so bad that you can physically feel it in your chest. But my Redeemer, an ever so loving Father above, took out my decrepitated, stony heart and swapped it. He gave me a new one, made of flesh and living water, leading to why I can pour out my heart and relate to you. Corny joke? You like it? No? Okay, I'll stop. My bad. Sheesh. Look, I'm not saying sex is a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not saying it's disgusting. But sex, it's beautiful in context. I'd like to compare sex to grits. Grits by itself is completely gross, but if you add seasonings or ingredients to your liking, you'll smash that bowl after bowl after bowl if you're hungry enough. God is the ingredients and the covenant is the seasonings. I know it may sound cheesy and childish, but take my word for it. You love your favorite food, right? But if someone feeds you your favorite food and doesn't cook it right, you'd feel some kind of way, right? Now, imagine God feeling some kind of way when you leave him out of your relationship, your marriage, your job, your friendship, or whatever you do in life. God sits on the throne of our hearts, and if we have something in his seat, he has every right to be angry and remove it. You would be mad too if someone at school took your seat in class and then told you to go ahead and push off, or if someone cut you off on the road, or cut you in line, or at the store, or at the club, or at the movies, or whatever, bro. In the end, if you haven't caught on to a single thing that I said in this video, just remember this. You are someone's son. You are somebody's daughter. You are not a toy. You are not an accessory. You're not a playful object someone can just discard whenever they're bored. You are more than that. You deserve more love and respect than that. You deserve to be held up so high with honor you look down on sin with disgust. So, my brothers and sisters, my dearly beloved ones, take my word for it and hear me out. Because in the end, the only person you're using and violating is yourself. You're wrapped in shackles, chains, and cuffs, and you just don't know it. So do what Joseph did with Potiphar's wife. Flee and run from sexual immorality. You're no more of a man if you rack up bodies, and you're no less of a woman for holding on to purity. Because in the end, we are all more than just the sum of our parts. I love you, but Jesus loves you more. Until next time, this has been your host, with the most, Ricky Rakim.